Then kill the man one picnic. Who's the them, yay yay? So finally, we're up to the part that Bob is born, okay? Sedella's in the house that her husband, Obi Narval Sinclair, by Fiar, right? But he's in town, okay? And every so often, twice, him come visit. So it says, my father telegraphed Captain with the news. A few days later, he came to shower his newborn son with love and kisses. He held him in his arms and walked the floor proudly and told me that he would name him Nesta Robert Marley, the middle name being his younger brother's. This is interesting because I found that he has an older brother named Robert, not a younger brother. The older brother is a few years older than him, but that's another story. Nesta, I griped, I don't like that name. People gonna call him Lester, and I know plenty man named Lester. Not Lester, Captain corrected me, still striding back and forth with his son in his arms. Nesta. Nesta, I squawked. Where that name come from? It's a name I like, Captain said. That would be his name. So Captain, although Captain gonna show up for the, insemination and food time after that, Captain decrees and declares that his name is going to be Nesta, which, by the way, is a feminine name. I looked it up, but the meaning of Nesta. I've heard so many things. What does it mean? It is a Welsh variation of the name Agnes. We've heard people name Agnes before. It's an older name, but it's said to derive from Greek. So Agnes is a feminine name derived from Greek. And it also is supposed to mean pure or holy in Greek. So far, Nesta is Agnes, and Agnes means pure or holy. But in Proto-Indo-European, Hayag, it means to sacrifice or to worship. This is also very interesting because this name was popular in Jamaica during the 1900s. It was a feminine name, but it was very popular. And for some reason, Norval Marley requested that Bob Marley be named Nesta. Let's continue. It was a funny name, and at first I didn't like it, but I felt that Captain had the right to name his own son. So I agreed. Later, I found out that the name meant messenger, but whether or not Captain knew that when he christened his son Nesta, I don't know. And of course, Pupa's heart brimmed with joy over the birth of his first grandson. That's interesting. Of all the picnic them that Pupa has, and you were the sixth for your mother, this is his first grandson. That's interesting. It says, but Captain finally did not share his feelings. But Captain's family did not share his feelings. Captain was not a man to talk much about his private troubles, but it came out during the first visit that he had been recently disinherited by his mother, which would have been Ellen Bloomfield, according to calculations. So whatever happens when he goes to town, he's disinherited. His mother had two sons, Robert, who was a well-known engineer, and Captain. Robert had two sons of his own. Later on, Robert ends up having more sons, but Captain's mother had changed her will, leaving all her worldly goods to Robert's two sons. Captain told me that under the new will, he would not get a penny, not 1 red cent for Captain, who was riding around into him old age, feeling up on young girls. We don't know what the conversation was between the mother and Captain. Now, according to my research, I found that the father died early on, and I think this is an interesting piece of information. Hold on, I keep saying according to my research. Let me get my little research book here. That Captain father died like 2 or 3 years after Captain was born. Okay, so let me see here. Yep, he died in 1885, and their father's name was Albert Thomas Marley, right? And so Captain was born in 1883. So he's 2 years old when his father dies. And his older brothers, not a younger brother, is 1878. Both of them were born in Clarendon. And these are the two sons of Albert and Ellen. So that is an interesting little tidbit because the father issue The lack of a father being present, I think it starts off from the father dying of Norval. Also, it is important to note that Ellen Ann Bloomfield, she lives until she's 98 years old. So she lived a long time, okay? And she was actually in Kingston. So according to the narrative, she dies in St. Andrew, right? So let's continue. Let me see. So Ellen Bloomfield declares, say, for whatever reason, Nav will not get a red cent. Whether or not he didn't make much of himself, whether or not she's like, I don't trust him with the inheritance, he's not getting it. At first, Captain didn't want to say that his mother had disinherited him because he married a black woman. By this time, he's like 60. I think it might have been a little bit more than that. It could have been, but this revelation soon came out. Later, he changed the story and claimed that she was vexed, not because his wife was black, but because he had gotten married without telling her. This is interesting because another parallel is that Bob, his mother laments that she heard through the grapevine that Bob was married and he didn't tell her. So that also parallels and comes back in the conversation. To this day, I don't know the true story. We need a Sedela. Madabuka, to this day, we don't know neither. It said, time will tell. All I know is that Nesta came and left this world, loved everlasting by my family, but shunned by his fathers. And again, this is the constant pursuit. This is the deep pain that we see him searching for this one love and this connection, right? It says, and the hardship of being disinherited will fall most heavily, not on Nesta, but on Captain, whose family treated him harshly after our marriage. Captain stayed with me and Nesta 1 week. So Nesta now member because I only 1 week Captain stayed. And then he returned to his work in Kingston, leaving me in the hillside house with our new son. Like, manage this. So remember, when him did a ask if she a feather, he was in town. When him did a picnic, playful pinch, him did in town. Soon as baby, I'll go 1 week, we can't stay here, sir. I forgot. Already? Where you going? Who's changing some pampers? You know what I mean? Help me. Let me help you. Anyway, Nesta grew normally like any other baby, fussy sometimes, cooing and gurgling on the bed sometimes, sleeping on and off throughout night and day. When he cried for feeding, I would put him to my breast and sing to him and tell him stories. I wrote regularly to Captain, giving reports and news about his son, and he would always answer me back, asking questions that showed his concern. Much like when Bob read Rita, right? Rita is also a letter writer. At that time, there's no texting. It's letter writing, right? But there's some people who have a lot of things to say and others who don't. And so much like Rita, Sedella was a letter writer. And then when Nesta was about 6 months old, something puzzling happened. What could have happened when Nesta is 6 months? I'm going to take a little commercial break. We're going to think about it. And then we're going to come back and find out what his mother says happens when he's 6 months. I hope you're enjoying the reading. Listen, this is brought to you by Open Book Media. It's an awesome site and it has on it all type of articles if you are interested in all things literature. So we have information about this particular book club, as you see here, all of the videos beautifully laid out for you, as well as your story. I, Amuna, think everyone's story is important. So I created a free course to help you to get to write your own life's story. We even have writing contests if you need to get your creative juices going. And if you are interested, like, who is this lady who's reading me stories and having me cracking up? You can learn a little bit more about me as well. One day, after feeding him, I placed him on the floor, propped up between pillows, while I went to work on a sewing machine, patching a pair of pants for my brother Gibson. Say that 3 times fast. Patching a pair of pants, right? After I had worked on the pants for a while, I got hungry, and leaving Nesta briefly on the floor, stepped out into the yard and walked to my father's roadside shop to ask Lurleen Brown to sell me a bun and a soft drink for lunch. I was gone only a couple of minutes, but when I returned to the house, me nah tell you say, I found Nesta had fallen over and was sprawled out on the floor between the pillows. I picked him up and tried to burp him, thinking that maybe he had gas. And after patting his back, I returned him to the pillows. Like, wait, backside. Imagine she come in with a bun and the soft drink. What, Nesta? What you do? Run over, pick up a baby. Come, Nesta, make me burp you. He immediately vomited a watery fluid. I picked him up and found that he barely had life in him, that his eyes were rolling back in their sockets. So she's talking about Bob Marley. He's having this very weird experience at 6 months old. So let's continue. Mad with fright, I hollered for my stepmother and my sister Enid. Come quick, I cried. The baby sick, the baby sick. So she's saying that she didn't go long. Little bun and little drinks. And she come back in a no time. And by the time she come back, did the baby touch something? Did the baby put something in the mouth? Like, what happened? You know, with children, they fast, they quick. And no one, where was all your siblings? That you needed to step away, not judging, but you left the house and then you needed to step away and you didn't ask them, hey, watch the baby for me real quick, or can you go get me some food real quick? Because I know people make decisions, but that was interesting. They rushed into the room, and Miss Lurleen, after one glance at the baby, nodded and muttered ominously, the baby well sick, him sick, sick. Okay, Miss Lurleen. The baby well sick, him sick, sick. That made her feel like a whole lot better. Like, come on, Miss Lurleen, what we doing? My stepmother rushed to send a telegram to Captain. Go call the doctor. I called out to a man named Squire Rob, who was working in our yard, crying, beg you run up to Smith and call Papa. Tell him Nesta sick. Hurry, quick, quick. Squire jumped on his bicycle and raced up the mountain trail to Smith. And after a little while, Papa came tearing down the slopes of on the same bicycle and rushed into my room to find Nesta in my arms, limp and grasping weakly for life. So I'm not sure if his mother transmitted this story to him when he got older. Like, bruh, you really gave us a scare. After one quick look at Nesta, who lingered on death's door step, Papa said, evil spirit play with the baby. So Miss Lurleen, the baby sick, the baby well sick, the baby sick, sick. Run gone telegraph the father. Who's going for the doctor? Anywho, the father comes and says, evil spirit play with the baby. He rushed out into the field and returned with herbs that he had boiled up in a pot and told me to get the baby to drink the warm liquid. After him drink, Papa said, him going throw up, and whatever evil spirit inside of him going come out. So what happened? Mr. Omariah has declared and decreed that the baby had an evil spirit, and that evil spirit not only played with the baby, then take him up. Remember, she had a dream, and that she was Miss Lucy Lawrence, who was jeering her on her wedding day, telling her, I know what sweet nanny go take a run our berry in the last episode, and she was having these terrifying dreams, and then she had a spirit come and told her they can't trouble you. But here she is 6 months later, somebody has troubled you, and your father is declaring that it's an evil spirit. So that's a lot. I mean, I could only imagine that is very frightening. And then to hear beyond the physical, this is some spiritual situation going on here. It says here, the father says, after him drink, Papa said, him going throw up, and whatever evil spirit inside him going come out. Then him will feel better. But Papa have a lot of picnic, so, Papa then used a piece of closed blue and marked a 10 cross under Nesta's arm and on his foot bottoms to keep the evil spirits from further troubling him. I have been looking for some information on this. And the reason why when I read the mother's account when she took sick in childbirth is because when her mother, which is Sadella's mother, head was hurting, she said it felt like somebody marked her with a 10 cross. But here, same Sadella is saying that her father marked Bob with closed blue and a 10 cross to keep the evil spirits from troubling. Both of these people had adversarial women in their lives. First, the mother with the woman who passed by Omariah's woman them and spit in her direction, and now Lucy Lawrence. I find it interesting that the first thing is used to say that somebody did you something, and now it's being used to say that you're going to protect this child. Whatever it is, they're thinking that there's some spiritual manifestation for what was happening in the physical. So the father used it and marked him his arm and on his foot bottom. Interesting. I gave Nesta Pupa's drink, trying my best to force it down his throat, while his head flopped lifelessly from side to side in my arms, and eventually I succeeded and he swallowed feebly. So from where we are here, somebody creep after Nesta. I mean, the way she summed up Lucy Lawrence, does Lucy Lawrence do something? I don't know. I mean, she's leading us to the water. I don't know that we should partake of where we're going with this conversation, but from what I'm reading, let me know what you guys think. This is alluding to somebody doing something. It says here, when the baby threw up the evil, quote unquote, Papa ordered, give him some mint tea, not the illustrious mint tea, not the cure-all mint tea. After the concoction, what was the bush that Papa boiled, though? He gives him mint tea to drink. Then Papa left to return to Smith. So Papa came and was like, well, he was spirit play with the baby. Run, go outside, pick that, grind up that, put that, make him drink that. And when he done, make him belch off the gas with little mint tea. All right, man. Gone back, gone plant, gone. A few minutes after being force-fed Papa's medicine, Nesta began vomiting violently. Out of his mouth and bottom spewed a slime thick like starch. I mean, how old was he? If he's 6 months old, she said he was about 6 months old. He's still drinking breast milk. He's not, I mean, I don't know if they're giving him whole foods, or if it is, it shouldn't be that much. But according to her, this thing came out basically that his body wasn't digesting. It came back out thick like slime and starch. It was nasty, raw, rotten matter, and it gushed out of his body like it spewed from every pore. Later, I would have to wash his diapers 3 or 4 times before I got down to the fabric. The slimy coating was so curdled and thick. So whatever he was eating, whatever he was taking in, his body wasn't digesting. I'm just trying to stay on the physical side of the situation, okay? It says, Yay, who heard the news, came bawling down the hill. Oh, then kill the man one picnic. Who's the damn Yay? So Yay is of the inclination, or Yaya is of the inclination, say a smaddy. Now, me no want put it past smaddy, but the way she came down the hill, not even is the pitney all right. Oh, the baby. She and Laureline has an interesting response. As a matter of fact, everybody in this situation had an interesting response, but most notably, Yaya, interesting. Laureline, she gone send telegram. And Papa is the only one who did something that was actively engaging to help the life of the child, which is fascinating. Anywho, she burst into the room, weeping and wailing, expecting to find her grandson dead, but found him instead vomiting up slime and fighting for his life. How did y'all give up that quickly? It says here, she immediately set to work, making up a little thread bag with a string that closes. So who gave you this news that you didn't come to say, oh, what happened to my great grandson? You didn't come to say, hold the baby. You declared and decreed that somebody is ready to take him out. But then when you find him, you're like, backside, let me go do something to help him. That was interesting. It says here, she immediately set to work, making up a little thread bag with a string that closed it. Inside the bag, which she carefully tied around Nesta's neck. So she put it back round the 6 months baby neck. She placed some herbs and weeds that would drive away evil. So everybody's thinking somebody creep after him because he's Sinclair's son, or because Norval married her, It's interesting if she would explore why they think he did it. But anywho, Nesta recovered after throwing up the slime and drinking mint tea. He fell into a deep and peaceful sleep. We sent a telegram to Captain telling him that his son had gotten better, and a few days later he journeyed from Kingston to see for himself. He found a happy, healthy country baby cooing on the floor between the pillows. Around his neck dangled Yaya's bag of potions. Remember, before, she's going to church. So now they're mixing in the thought processes and the ideology and something, if there is a spirit around him, one trying to protect him, one trying to consume him. I don't know, but she's definitely pointing to some foul play in some areas. Papa, renowned through the district as a bush doctor and herbalist, had saved my firstborn, she says. Nesta Robert Marley, the only child I would ever bear for Captain. Okay, so Captain was old. Let's just recap, because when we go on, I'll just give you a little intro into chapter 5. Captain did not prove himself a good father. Okay, and we're going to go into that. But that was interesting to see that Captain spied upon the girl from Shion. Captain put talk to the girl, a groomer. Captain was over there playing gynecologist and one of people after that. Naval was over there playfully pinching and I give mammogram. Then no him inveigle the little pitney for take where him did a offer. Get her in her trouble. Breed her. I'll do because she feels sorry for him. I'm just giving you guys the fast forward now, you know. And then insist that he marries her, then leaves her. Do you see some parallels here? To continue to pursue his life in the city while she is in the country in the little 1 room or 2 room that he built for her. And now he's citing them as the reason that he's disinherited from his mother's inheritance. Oh, and he names the baby middle name after the brother who is more successful. That was a lot. Okay, that was a lot. So definitely tune in for the next episode so we can see why is she saying that he is not the best father. Till next time.